Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Push Pace Podcast, a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to pushing ourselves towards better, happier versions of ourselves. And for today's episode, I want to take some time to talk about what it means to create and share your passion. Because over the years that I have been putting out content on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and now a few different other platforms, I've been approached by a lot of people sort of asking, how do you get into this stuff? Like, what do you do? What are the secrets to helping to grow an audience and such? And so I wanted to take some time to discuss that today and discuss how just generally like how expanding into new platforms has really been kind of eye-opening for myself. So talking a little bit more about my personal journey with new platforms, attention, etc. too. So I think it's going to provide some really good insight if you've ever been someone that's been looking to essentially take your passion on whatever it might be, whether it's just a hobby that you like or you want to do whatever it might be, and you want to put that out there to the world, how that can be done, the logistics as far as like the time and effort you have to put into these different platforms, depending on where you want to make, the monetary like monetization of these things. Because people ask, like, do you get paid through Instagram? How does YouTube pay you and such? And so I want to talk about all that as well. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun talk. And to start things off, I think it's important for us to really take the time to understand that in this day and age, we have the ability to share our passions. Like even 20 years ago, we didn't even have nearly the capability to put ourselves out into the world that we do now. I mean, essentially these like 7 or so main platforms that consume most of our attention, I'm talking platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and now TikTok being a big one as well. These sort of like just big platforms that hold most of our attention. They're essentially like the new TV stations. And what we put out are essentially the shows of ourself. And it's free to do that, which is kind of the crazy part. I mean, obviously, depending if you're promoting like a brand or stuff, you can invest money into advertisement on certain platforms. But the actual ability to just record something with your phone, which everyone has, and then post it, and that being seen by people across the world, like that is a truly like, we're in an absolute marvelous time to be in a position where that is just the reality of things. And so let's talk about how that's done, what we do. So I want to just kind of break through each platform one at a time and talk about the reality of these platforms and, how to go about creating stuff for them. The overarching theme before we get into that, though, is understanding that no matter what I'm saying about doing this for specific platforms, the best thing you can do to help share your passion is to just make stuff. Make videos, make pictures, make written word, and just putting a lot of stuff out as much as you can. But let's get into the details of it. And I want to talk primarily about the platforms that I've used, my experience with them, and how I think you can use them for yourself. So I started basically promoting my passion for fitness and health on YouTube. It was around 4 years ago where I just started making YouTube videos. It was funny because when I wanted to make these videos, I was like, hey, what can I talk about that I know? I was like, well, I know how to row. I know how to use a rowing machine. And so without even looking to see if there was like rowing technique stuff up on YouTube already, I started making these videos kind of just covering general rowing technique stuff. Little did I know it was a niche that needed filling. And so I was actually making pretty unique content in that form where not only was it just me saying it, but it was new info that really wasn't up to the general public because rowing was sort of this I wouldn't say it's a very inclusive sport. At least it wasn't back 4 years ago. Obviously, as social media and the ability for more people to create and share their passions and stuff, obviously things like rowing and other sports and activities and stuff, the audiences grow, it becomes more inclusive. But back then, it really wasn't. And so I'm very thankful to have been able to fill a niche that needed filling. And I know that for a lot of us, or for a lot of you that might have a passion of something that you want to share, you're like, well, a lot of people already do that. A lot of, like, everything's been talked about. But it's important to know that even though everything might have been talked about, depending on what your creative outlet is, if it's something like music, for instance, I mean, the nice thing about music is it's forever changing. It's forever growing. There's more stuff being added to it. If it's any sort of, movies or something creative that has a sort of something that is continuously content is being made for it, just out in the real world, like, I'm envious of that. With fitness is kind of like, do this. This is what it is. Now do it. And so to kind of expand that creativity past that has been a big challenge for me, but I definitely like the challenge. But as far as putting content out on YouTube goes, what's interesting and what's important for you to keep in mind is that even though you might be talking about something that hundreds, if not thousands, of other people have also talked about on YouTube, that it's your unique voice that matters. No one knows what you know about it, or no one can say your way of saying what it is you want to talk about or do. And that's the most important thing to keep in mind, that in a world of saturated information about everything, it's not about necessarily what's being said, more about how things are being said. Like a lot of the fitness stuff that I talk about on these different platforms too. Like at this point, a lot of stuff I talk about, the info's out there. You can go dig in, and I'm talking about stuff that other people have talked about, but I'm trying to bring my own spin, my own character, my own self into it. And when you're making stuff for YouTube, be you. Be authentically you. Be the you that you really are on the inside. Don't try to be someone else, which I know is really hard to do, especially when you first start learning to talk to a camera on your own, like I'm doing right now, staring at a camera by myself in a room. You get used to that over time, but at the start, it's hard to do that. But just trust in that you bringing your own spin to something is what is gonna set you apart from everybody else. Now, creating YouTube videos is definitely the most time-intensive portion of creating stuff for social media platforms, especially depending on, obviously it depends on what you talk about, but YouTube videos take hours. And when you're doing something sort of on your own, which I'm very thankful that I've learned the skills to do everything on my own, from filming and scripting and the editing and the processing and the post-production, I've learned that all myself. That is a process that takes so much time. It's wild to even think about like how slow that process used to be back when I first started. And you spent hours and hours and hours trying to create a good video. It goes up for the first time and you have no audience, so no one's really seeing it. And it doesn't really feel worth it at first. But what's cool about YouTube is that once your video's up there, it's up there forever, and it's searchable, kind of different than the way things like on Facebook and Instagram are, where like if someone's looking up your topic or whatever, it's very easy to find your videos. And so think of YouTube as an investment in yourself, I guess. Like knowing that when you invest into something like monetarily, that it doesn't necessarily pay off right away, but it does over time. They snowball. I had one of my most popular YouTube videos that I made, top 3 rowing mistakes that people make, which now has close to 700,000 views on YouTube. I think that it took like 2 months before it got like 1,000 or 2,000 views. And at that point, I had already been making videos for over a year and a half. So it didn't seem like a worth it video, but over time, people saw it and it kind of snowballs up. And that's how the growth on that platform happens as well. Right now, my YouTube channel is sitting around 41,000 subscribers. It took me over a year to get my first 1,000. But then from there, it snowballs. Year 2, end of that, was around 6,000. Year 3 after that, close to, I can't remember what it was, 18,000 or something. And it just kind of keeps piling on and on and on as long as you keep making stuff. So even though it takes a lot of time to invest into a platform like YouTube, it's definitely worth the investment if you care about what you're talking about. And it's fun. Like it's the satisfaction of filming something, kind of, editing as you need to, which will take time, but you're learning, you're growing as a person, you're learning new skills, which is fun. And then to just have created something that you did. Like there's something very personally satisfying about that I know you would feel too if you put something out even though you're not getting that like all the views and a bunch of money for it right up front. And if you're doing any of this for the money right off the bat and expecting money right away, it's just not going to happen. Took like 9 months before my first $100 paycheck from YouTube. And that was after creating like 3 to 4 videos a week, grinding it out. But what's cool about YouTube is that once you do grow a significant following and your videos are getting a significant amount of views, it can be a very, very good chunk of income, like surprisingly so. Because again, with your backlogged videos that you've made in the past, people are still watching those if they're necessarily relevant or entertaining. You're still getting paid off of that as well. And so that plus your new stuff that you make, it's sort of continually growing. And once you partner with YouTube, it's basically you get paid based off of ad revenue. So it's not necessarily how many followers you have, more about how many people are watching the videos, how much interaction you're getting with the ads at the start of the videos and at the end of the videos, etc. That's why you can't just buy a bunch of subscribers and expect to make a lot of money from that. So they do have a couple rules as far as learning to monetize your channel. You have to be at around at least 1,000 subscribers and have at least 40 hours of watch time. But once you get it going, you get little bits of change here and there, it can really add up. And if you're talking about something that you like, it's freaking awesome. So moving on to other platforms. YouTube takes a lot of time, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. But monetarily, it's the one that's paid off the most. And I want to take one more note here. YouTube has been a great way to provide info, to provide value on the stuff that I like to talk about. And then just kind of leave the little thing at the end of hey, just so you know, I have an ebook that you might want to check out if you're interested in more. So being able to, give someone something of value right up front, give them the free info and then be hey, if you want something more, here's my ebook or here's my downloadable whatever. And if it's something that you made on the side, when that sees your audience and they like you, they want to support you, you get a bonus boost of income from whatever that is that you might be selling. So YouTube is a great platform to share your passion into big videos and then also promote any products that you might have made yourself or services that you do, etc. Now, going into things like Facebook and Instagram, the content that you can make on Facebook and Instagram is so much faster than what you do for YouTube as far as the editing goes. Because we're all looking off of a phone and we're looking at it in sort of a scrolling sense. Where on YouTube, you're clicking the video, you're sitting down to watch the video. On Instagram, there's 60-second videos max. Of course, with IGTV and stuff being a more newer thing where you can have longer videos. The primary consumption of content on there is through just quick pictures and quick videos. And what's cool about these videos, if you're someone who's just starting off, literally just turn your front-facing camera on and talk about something of what the passion is you want to talk about, whatever it might be. And you can just post it right there. And then by adding hashtags to it, which Instagram allows you to post 30 hashtags below your post, that's going to promote it to the global scale. People that are searching these hashtags or in their discovery section on Instagram, there's no reason why your posts won't pop up to a handful of people from different countries or different states or around the world, as long as you're putting it out there. What's interesting though is to see that the reach and the ability to grow an audience on Instagram and Facebook, which both kind of work the same way, by the way. It's just sort of the same format. It's interesting because the growth on there has definitely slowed down as it becomes more populated with people. That's just kind of how it is. As more attention gets drawn to these specific platforms, more content is being created by multiple people, it gets harder and harder for videos and pictures and stuff to get out there to new people. And that is why I really urge you to start making now if it's something that you've really been considering, because it's only going to become more saturated with more people. It's only going to be harder to get yourself out there. But it's still possible, and that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. And the fact that with, they have very quick phone editing apps for photos and videos, you can really splice together some really good stuff very quickly, allowing you to make 3 to 4 Instagram posts a day if you wanted to use that as your main platform to get stuff out there. And I really recommend that when you do that, it's not about showing off what you've got or something. It's not hey, look at my new car, there's my post. I really think it's important to see these platforms as a way for you to provide value and info for someone talking about something that you like. So talking about something that you enjoy. Sharing a little snippet of something that you know. Because when you do that, you gain trust with the person that's watching, regardless of the platform. They learn to trust you as the source instead of just this random nobody person that's trying to sell them something right away. Again, it's just about putting yourself out there and talking about the stuff that you like to talk about. Don't be afraid to give some people some free value because you got to gain that trust somehow. But with Instagram and Facebook's ability to just have these short videos that you're expected to kind of film from your phone, take from your phone, and with how good video quality and photo quality is on the latest phones, I mean, it's just right there. You just got to turn it on and do. And then going into other platforms, there's 2 other platforms that I've been exploring a lot these last couple months, and that's LinkedIn and TikTok. Now, talking about LinkedIn for a moment, a lot of us know LinkedIn as sort of this platform for everyone to sort of, it used to be a job search platform, basically. Like you made your professional profile, you could find jobs on it. But it's really evolved to be almost more like a professional social media, where a lot of the stuff that's shared are just really interesting topics that kind of relate to everyone. And what's called organic reach, which is basically like you make a post and it gets shown to people, the reach that LinkedIn can have, it's very interesting because I'm someone who hadn't used LinkedIn a lot in the past, but when I started making posts, all of a sudden I saw that my posts were getting views and likes from people that I had never seen before. Again, by using just a couple hashtags, where LinkedIn, by the way, limits you to your hashtags. You can't post 30 hashtags like you would on Instagram. But once again, it allows you to get your reach out there. And I know for a lot of people that are looking to build something more professional, as far as maybe a product or a service or small business or whatever it might be, that's the site for you, where you can, again, provide information, value to people talking about what it is that you're trying to promote. Not selling yourself right away, but just talking about what you like. And for a lot of people that don't want to be on video, that is the platform for you. You know, that is very much text-based on LinkedIn. And if you're someone who would much rather prefer to write about what they want to talk about, that is a huge deal. A lot of people still read, and a lot of people get their businesses and their personal brands very far through written word. Personally, for me, I struggle a lot with written word. I don't think I'm a great writer. I mean, I do my best to make little good descriptions like below my Instagram videos and stuff, but I much prefer to be right in the camera's face talking to the camera. So it's important to have that self-realization talk with yourself, learn where your strengths are, and begin there. If you're someone who doesn't want to be on video, start writing. You can take all the time you want in the world to make the perfect writing post that you want to make. And LinkedIn is the spot to do that. I think it is important to sort of tailor your content to be a little bit more professional on that platform than what you might do for something like Instagram or Facebook. Of course, you can keep it professional there. But for me, for instance, I might not necessarily post one of my crazy, goofy, silly videos on LinkedIn for an exercise that I'm talking about, and instead post 2 pictures of me doing that exercise with a more professionally written text, above the photos instead. Trying to be contextual to the platform because, people aren't going on LinkedIn to see funny clips. They're going there to, with a more business-focused mindset in there. So that's something to keep in mind too when you're making stuff. And that leads me into TikTok. This platform is crazy. This platform is wild. Now, some of you might not even know what I'm talking about, but if you have kids, they definitely know what it is. The primary audience on this platform is probably around ages like 12 to like 24. It's a very, very young audience, but essentially it's a video platform where just goofy videos, fun videos, where the app itself has lots of like music choices to put music backgrounds to the videos that you make, different camera effects and interactive like camera games and stuff like that you can basically record yourself doing and then post out onto the platform. And what's wild right now is that so many people are looking at TikTok, like people are watching the stuff, because until you try it, you don't realize like how creative and how funny a lot of these creators really are. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that you can do. And again, with these editing apps that you can use to splice together videos and then upload it, it's super cool. And again, they're more short-based videos, not like long sit-down YouTube videos. it's lighthearted stuff, lighthearted, funny, and fun content. And so that has been that has been a platform that I've been focusing on for the last month or so, really taking an entirely different route than the route I'm used to taking as far as putting out fitness stuff on YouTube, Instagram, etc. And instead putting out more of just like stuff that I think is funny and kind of stuff that might seem a little ridiculous and like, I don't want to say inappropriate, but not contextual to like the Instagrams or the Facebooks. But what's interesting is that over the course of a month, I've grown more of an audience on TikTok. Right now, we're sitting around 31,000 followers on TikTok than I had on Instagram after pushing out Instagram content for 1.5 years now. And YouTube sitting around 41,000. Like my TikTok's already almost there, and that YouTube audience has taken 4 years to develop. And so it's kind of interesting where there's so many people watching TikTok right now, but not a lot of people making. When you put something out there, the organic reach, the ability for your post to reach all of a sudden just this as tons and tons of people, it's possible. Woke up one day after posting a video and it had 1.8 million views on it. And I was just talking about a random video trend that was going on. And it's like, there's no other place where that happens. That does not happen on YouTube anymore. That does not happen on Instagram or Facebook. And so even though you might not necessarily think that, whether it's your business or your passion or something, that it doesn't necessarily apply to like this age range, these kids have parents, and who knows, if you're just putting out fun, lighthearted stuff that's somewhat in relation to what your passion is, that kid might say, hey mom, like check out this person, and this person has blah, blah, blah. I mean, kids and parents, they communicate quite a bit as far as like, hey mom, look at this. Hey dad, look at this. And you never know where that can lead. And so that's why I didn't think it was necessarily going to be a platform for me, pushing into it, getting out of the comfort zone and exploring something that was a little bit different, trying to be more contextual to a more silly, goofy, funny platform, which luckily, like I kind of already was on Instagram a little bit, where, my lighthearted kind of fun attitude towards fitness stuff, it did translate pretty well. I didn't have to take a huge drastic shift into what I was doing. But it's just interesting how attention shifts. And it's going to continue to shift as we go along. Like eventually Facebook and Instagram, like they're going to be dead platforms. TikTok might evolve to something huge. It might not. Instagram might find something that's better for it or something, like take over it, or who knows what will happen. New platforms will arise and attention will shift around. I mean, think about, 10 years ago where a lot of older adults weren't even considering Facebook or Instagram for anything. Like, oh, that's the thing my kid uses. I'm never going to be on that. And now Facebook is primarily adults that use it, and hardly any of the younger generation is using Facebook regularly now. That kind of shift in attention is going to continue to happen as well. And so that's why I think it's important not to write off any platform, and know that there are just lots and lots of opportunities out there for you to make and put out your passion. And even though the attention might shift around, your message has to be wholeheartedly, truly you, and it has to provide value to people out there. Don't worry about selling yourself right away. Just make around the stuff that you like, make around the stuff that you're passionate about, and just don't worry about what other people are thinking, because you have the true opportunity to be on a global scale, to reach out to people that it was never possible. Hardly even 10 years ago was it possible to do now what we're capable of doing now. So I highly encourage you to explore these different platforms and to just get out and make. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about Twitter. Yeah, you can make a tweet. It limits you to 140 characters. So there's only so much you can write about, and you can just talk about whatever's on your mind. And putting it out there, it has a chance to be seen by people. Make. That is my biggest tip for those looking to share their passions with the world. You'll never know what audience you can build, what you can do until you put stuff out there. I wanted to touch a little bit more as far as like monetization of stuff. I talked about how on YouTube, it's very possible to make a substantial income from YouTube. Obviously that takes some time. As far as like seeing like monetization from things like Instagram and Facebook, I see them, I've still only really been able to see the monetary value in that as far as sort of redirecting people towards your different goods and towards your different services. And that's just how it is for most people. Like you don't get ad revenue from Instagram or anything like that, but you do grow an audience, and your audience can be a different, you're growing a different audience there than you are somewhere else. And so your global reach really is just expanding more. My YouTube audience is 80% male, but my Instagram audience, which is more than half the size of my YouTube audience, is 80% female. And my TikTok audience, which is now, greater than my Instagram, not quite as big YouTube, is half male, half female. It's just funny how you never know who you're going to reach on these different platforms. And there's so much opportunity out there for you. So I hope this could provide a little bit of insight for you. I know it was a bit of a ramble talking about this stuff, but I know that you want to start something. You want to start talking about something that you're passionate about. And so you got to get out there and you got to make. And if you guys want to hear more discussions about the process of doing this and helping to overcome the different barriers that hold you back, let me know, give me the feedback, and I want to talk about this stuff more, because I just want you to really have the fulfilling life and do the things that you want to do. So thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. As always, you guys rock. Be sure to rate the podcast if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next one.